So here's a big question. Does Taiwan really need its own global Chinese language media outlet? Now, on the surface, that sounds pretty straightforward, right? But as we're about to find out, this goes way deeper than just flipping the switch on a new TV channel. At its core, what we're really talking about is a classic power struggle. Who gets to tell the story? I mean, think about it. We're all bombarded with information every single day. So being able to control your own narrative, to tell your own story on the world stage, that's one of the most powerful tools a nation can have. And that leads us to this really important idea: international discourse power. It's a bit of a fancy term, but it's exactly why you see major countries pouring enormous resources into their global media. It's all about influence. It's about shaping how the world sees you and making absolutely sure your voice gets heard. So Professor Chen, whose work we're looking at today, throws out this huge, ambitious idea. What if Taiwan didn't just launch one channel? What if it became a central hub, a sort of content powerhouse for Chinese language media all over the world? Just stop and think about the kind of impact that could have. And believe me, this wasn't just some pipe dream cooked up in the university office. For a little while, this idea of a Taiwanese media hub felt really close to becoming a reality. So let's dig into just how close it actually got. All right, let's rewind to 2007. The government comes out with this big, splashy plan. They were looking at the success of outlets like Al Jazeera and thought, hey, we can do that. So they proposed the Taiwan International Channel. The mission was crystal clear: broadcast Taiwan's point of view to the entire world, in both English and Mandarin. They even had a pretty hefty budget ready to go. We're talking 2 to 3 billion new Taiwan dollars. Everything seemed set. And then, nothing. It just never happened. It stalled out and completely vanished. And here's the really fascinating and, let's be honest, kind of frustrating part. That 2007 failure, it wasn't a one-off. Nope. It was just one chapter in a long, long history of trying and failing to get this idea off the ground. This timeline really lays it all out, doesn't it? It's a classic story of starts and stops. It kicks off back in 2000 with Macroview TV, aimed at overseas communities. Then, bam, 2007, the big, ambitious international channel plan, which stalled. Then they try again in 2012 to upgrade Macroview, and that fails too. And then, for the final, almost ironic twist, in 2017, instead of an upgrade, the original Macroview TV gets shut down completely, leaving, well, a void. So you gotta ask, right? Why? Why did all these plans that seem to have real government support just keep hitting a brick wall time and time again? Well, the source material points to two classic culprits, the kind of roadblocks you see with almost any big government project. First up, turf wars. Bureaucratic infighting. Who's in charge here? They could never seem to agree on which department should run the thing. And second, the problem that never goes away: money. The price tag was always seen as too expensive, so the projects just got pushed to the back burner again and again. But, this isn't just a dry story about budgets and bureaucracy. When Taiwan's only international channel actually shut down, for some people, it was a really personal and symbolic blow. And to really get a sense of what was lost, Professor Chen tells this very powerful personal story. He's in a hotel room in Indonesia, flipping through channels. And there, right next to each other on the screen, he sees China's CCTV, Hong Kong's Phoenix TV, and Taiwan's Macroview TV. And he said seeing that Taiwanese flag logo on the screen, it was just deeply moving. It was this small but very real symbol of Taiwan's presence out there in the world. And then, in 2017, that screen went dark. Macroview TV was shut down. The official reason? It's so cold and simple: an insufficient budget. And just like that, that small, powerful symbol of an international voice was just gone. And this is where we get to the final and maybe the most provocative part of this whole story. Was this really about the money? Or was it about something else entirely, like national priorities? Okay, so let's talk about that insufficient budget. The number being thrown around for an upgraded international channel was about 10.6 billion new Taiwan dollars a year. And look, that's a lot of money, no question about it. But the real question is, how much is it really when you look at the big picture of what a nation spends? And this is where the perspective really shifts. Take a look at this comparison. The author points out that while that $10 billion a year price tag for a media channel was seen as too high, the country regularly spends many, many times that, hundreds of billions, on single military purchases. Now, this isn't about saying one is right and one is wrong. The point is to show that it was never just about the money. It was about choices, a choice of priorities. And so, that brings us right back to where we started. There's no easy answer here, and the source material doesn't pretend there is one. But it forces all of us to look at the real trade-off, to have a powerful voice on the world stage, to be able to tell Taiwan's story in its own words. What is that truly worth? That's the question this whole story leaves us with.